Taylor Hendricks needs to play minutes, lots of minutes, lots and lots of minutes. It's all part of an Ask LOJ edition of Locked On Jazz.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz. On today's edition, it's an Ask LOJ edition, and we start with benchmarks for Taylor Hendricks and Keyonte George this year. Then we talk about whether Colin Sexton could be a better point guard than Keyonte. What can we do to improve defensively? How many games does Lauri need to play? And as Ben Anderson talked about, could Cody Williams be better than Jalen Williams? What is our main rotation minutes being questioned? And I get snuck in there with one of my 5 favorite restaurants in Salt Lake City. It's all coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. I am David Locke, radio voice of the Jazz, Jazz NBA insider, and this is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. Follow, subscribe. It's all free. It's on every podcasting app. It's on YouTube. Hit the bell button on YouTube so you get notified every time we go live. Thanks so much to the everydayers. You are the ones who have made Locked On Jazz and the Locked On Podcast Network what it is. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. All right, this is my favorite show every week because you guys ask questions that are great. And the first one that came in is, what are the benchmarks you're looking for Taylor Hendricks? So I think this is a great question. So I did some research because I like to do that. So this is going to take a minute, and we might even have the old man glasses out for this. So here's the deal. Taylor played less than 1,000 minutes last year, which is unusual for a top 10 pick. In fact, in the last 30 years in the NBA, only 25 forwards have played less than 1,000 minutes. Now, I want to just put an asterisk on this conversation that I do believe in this day and age, the G League minutes are more important, classify as really good minutes, and have value. And so to some extent, I would say this can be a little, we need to monitor this for the future. But right now, Taylor's on the wrong side of history. Of the 25 top 10 forward picks who played under 1,000 minutes in their rookie year, 4 of the 25 that weren't injuries, Jonathan Isaac, Zion Williamson, and Julius Randle were injuries, so take the number down to 22. 4 of the 22 have gone on to have good careers. Aaron Gordon, who I don't think got hurt his rookie year, but might have. Dirk Nowitzki, Otto Porter Jr., and Obi Toppin. And I'm guessing that most of you listening right now and watching are expecting Taylor Hendricks to have a better career than Otto Porter Jr. or Obi Toppin. If we stretch this out to the top 15 picks, because taking the top 10 when he's 9th kind of feels as though you're cutting it off. Top 15 picks, you have 32 more players. So you now have 57 players who in the last 30 years were forwards and played under 1,000 minutes as a rookie. Okay, let me say that again. It's a little wordy. We have 57 players, top 15 picks in the NBA draft, forwards who in their rookie year played under 1,000 minutes. Taylor played in the 800s. The following had good careers. Now, you can decide whether you think these are good careers or not. I think they're good NBA careers. But I don't think you're going to hear a name here which makes you go, oh, I want Taylor Hendricks to be that guy, which is a little disconcerting. So we have 4 already in Aaron Gordon, Dirk Nowitzki, Otto Porter Jr., and Obi Toppin. Here's the next group. Bonzi Wells, Doug McDermott, Taurean Prince, Corliss Williamson, Marcus Morris, TJ Warren, Patrick Patterson, John Henson, and they have Kelly Oubre as a forward. So 13 out of 55, because we have some injuries in there taking us, but 13 out of 55. So about 25% of players who play under 1,000 minutes in their rookie year and are a top 15 pick and a forward, right? We got to put them all together, go on to have a decent NBA career. 25%, 75% do not. So Taylor's lack of NBA time last year is disconcerting. Now, again, the asterisk, the G League minutes I think are really valuable, and we need to watch this statistical pattern for the next few years as the G League becomes more viable of what if someone like Taylor actually prospers, then I think we start to go back and we look at the G League minutes as though they matter. And I'm looking at 30 years, and the G League hasn't been a prominent place for a lot of those 30 years. Like, a lot of these guys didn't get it. So right now, understanding the flaw in the data, but that data is there. Taylor is on the wrong side of minutes played for a sign of career. 75% of the top 15 picks who play less than 1,000 minutes that are forwards over the last 30 years, a lot of caveats, don't go on to have an NBA career. And 25% do. And the names are Aaron Gordon, Dirk Nowitzki, Otto Porter, Obi Toppin, Bonzi Wells, Doug McDermott, Taurean Prince, Corliss Williamson, Marcus Morris, TJ Warren, Patrick Patterson, John Henson, and Kelly Oubre Jr. I got it. I don't think you love those. So let's keep this going for a second. So now we go to year 2, and there is a defined minute moment where if he plays more than, it looks like he's going to have a great career. And if he plays less than, it looks like he's not going to have a great career. And that's 1,800 minutes. Taylor Hendricks, if you're following the data of NBA history, has to play 1,800 minutes this season to be on the right trajectory for his future. Those players that were top 10 picks that played under 1,500 in their second year and went on to have good careers. There were 41 players who did this. The ones who had a good career were Derek Favors, Michael Porter Jr., Donyell Marshall, Al Farouk Amino, Kurt Thomas, and Danny Fortson. And Danny Fortson, that's a little questionable. And Kurt Thomas, that's a little questionable. 6 of 41. You suddenly, as a top... Now, let's back it out to 15 again. Cam Johnson, Trey Lyles, Corey Maggette, Patrick Patterson, Al Jefferson. 11 of 72. If Taylor Hendricks plays under 1,500 minutes in this season, he will be in a group, have to be in a group of 15% rate of success and not big name success. If you go to 1,800 and you go 1 through 15 picks, you add another 20 players and you get some success. Rui Hashimura, Peja Stojakovic, Lauri Markkanen, Martell Webster, Evan Turner, Kelly Oubre, Marcus Morris. Apologize, can't read my writing on one of them. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more out of the 20. Now, that's good. Right now, when you start playing between 1,500 and 1,800 minutes in your second year as a forward, drafted in the top 15, we now have you having about a 35% success rate. Moving up. You bust over 1,800 minutes, and you're with Jonathan Isaac, Miles Bridges, Denny Advita, Brandon Ingram, Tim Duncan, PJ Washington, Devin Vassell, Gary Trent, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Doug McDermott, Marcus Morris, Kawhi Leonard. Boom. Boom. We hit. There's the number. We hit. The minute we do that, and we get over 1,800 minutes, and you get between 1,800 and 2,000 minutes in your second year as a player, we hit. So that's what you want a benchmark. You want me to give you a benchmark for Taylor Hendricks this year. That benchmark is simply minutes played. I need him to play at least 1,800 minutes this year. And if he plays 1,800 minutes, his chance for success in the rest of his career goes through the roof. If he gets to 1,800, between 1,800 and 2,000, his success rate gets to about 35%. If he's holding under 1,500, he's suddenly at like 14%. So you want a benchmark for Taylor Hendricks, 1,800 or more minutes. And if you assume he's playing 70 games this year with a little bit of an injury, then you're talking about Taylor Hendricks needs to play 25 minutes a night plus. What about a benchmark for Keyonte George? We're talking about that when we continue on an AskLoj edition of Locked on Jazz. Friday edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by our friends over at Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. The good friends over at Murdoch, Blake, and the crew, absolutely fabulous customer service in cars that I love. We have bought 3 of them. I'm driving a Palisade right now for a 4th. It's terrific. Why? Because they drive great. They have great super safety features. Hyundai's a leader in bells and whistles. And the price point is amazing. So if you're looking for a car right now, I suggest you look at Hyundai, then you decide. But I'm going to give you a VIP experience at Hyundai. Email me first at dlock09@gmail.com before you go, and we'll set you up with a VIP experience. So you walk in, the person's waiting for you. You don't have to do all that awkward thing where you walk in the beautiful new room at 4646 South State Street, and then you're waiting which salesperson's going to walk up to you, and you wonder if you got the good one or that whole deal. Like, we don't do that. Not if you're a Locked On listener. You get the VIP treatment. So email me first at dlock09@gmail.com so we can give you the VIP treatment over with our good friends at Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. I think some people were dying last night on FanDuel with the way that game played out. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel is your number one sports book in America. It is the official sports book of Locked On. Get into the action with FanDuel tonight. The Eagles are a 2.5-point favorite over Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. That should be a super fun one. Also, FanDuel's got an amazing deal for you right now, a little different than usual, but here's how it works. Between now and September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket for YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with YouTube TV's base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season game, Sunday afternoon, out-of-market games, and all you need is a Google account, current form payment. If that's not enough, FanDuel also has something special for the listeners this weekend. Be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app. Use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all your Sunday 9-8 pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting 9/6. That's today. View your account page and learn more about your Profit Boost at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. I appreciate it very much. All right, let's get right to Keyonte George, because I got asked the same question about Keyonte George. And I think there's actually a big, huge research project to do here. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, there we go. As well. But I'll do it for a different day because I want to get to more questions. I thought the Taylor Hendricks thing was interesting. We can dig deeper into that if we want to. Great questions, everybody. The ball's got to go in. That's my one on Keyonte. And I think the first 30 games are particularly important because he'll play those 30 games, if everything goes well, with Lauri Markkanen, with John Collins, with Jordan Clarkson, with Colin Sexton, with good players. And so if he's on the floor with good players, I think he gets better shots. As I've said, I wish I could wash from my memory every moment Keyonte George played to close the season last year without Jordan Clarkson, without Lauri Markkanen on the floor. They were an unfair sample size to evaluate Keyonte George with. What I'm excited about watching this year with Keyonte George is how does he play the game with the knowledge he got from last year's overwhelming experience to be able to play with Lauri, Jordan, John Collins, and have a less burden, and how much more efficient can he be? That's the big question to me on Keyonte George. And if those numbers are 40% and 33% from 30 games of the year, we got a problem. And if those numbers are 46% and 38% from 3, we got a star. But the first 30 games to me on Keyonte will be very revealing from efficiency, shot selection, and leadership. And I'm excited to watch it. Could Colin Sexton be as good or possibly better starting point guard than Keyonte George? So I thought Will Hardy was brilliant last year in how he used Colin Sexton to start the year. And that was he got him off the ball and let him just attack. Just let him play downhill attacking. He used, to use a Will Hardy term, Colin Sexton's superpower. Colin Sexton's superpower is he might have the best first step dribble drive in the NBA. When you put Colin Sexton at the top running the offense, you negate his superpower. So could Colin Sexton be a better point guard starting than Keyonte? Yeah, but I think that would actually be a reflection that Keyonte turns out to not be a point guard, then more than Colin turns out to be a good one. Colin Sexton's superpower is a first step dribble drive, which is best if coming from the wings and coming off ball. So I wouldn't want Colin to have to be a decision maker and thinker rather than a baller. You did a show that said it was hard to improve defensively. So what is realistic? Or are we just accepting 30th? Okay, so I didn't mean we should just accept 30th defensively, but I do think, honestly, I think like 22nd or 23rd, which we would probably say to. Now, having done the research that I did, I think I would be like, oh, wow, that's pretty awesome, right? Understanding now how long it really takes for teams to make that adjustment and to get there, I have a better understanding of that. I think I might decide that I would be, like, if that makes sense, like, okay, I'm in on that. Here's the one that I think I'm going to look at as maybe the biggest change, and that is the transition points allowed. I don't know why, and when I get a chance to talk to Will, it'll probably be my first question about their offseason studying, but we allowed so many more fast break points than any other team in the league last year. We just allowed people to live in transition at a much, much higher rate than the rest of the league did. Like there's no real way to say it otherwise. Like, here's the numbers. So last year we allowed teams to be in transition 21% of the time. The league average is like 16 and a half, maybe 17. We gave up 27 points a game in transition. The league average is 21. So if we could just we allowed 20, there's a lot of numbers, 23 possessions a night in transition. The league average is about 18. So if we could move the 5 transition possessions a night that we allowed in transition and turn them into half-court possessions, it would be a monumental impact on who we are as a team. Now, that's getting us to league average, but I mean, that's really probably what we should be shooting for, is to be league average allowing transition. If you can move those 5, just to give you an idea of what that means, in the half court, and this is actually, we weren't great defensively, so let's take our numbers because that's probably not fair doing league average. We were 28th in the league in half-court defense last year. We allowed 1.03 points per possession. In transition, we were last in the league, and we allowed 1.21 points per. We allowed 1.34 points per possession. 1.34 versus 1.03. So that's 0.3 points each time we pull someone out of transition and put them into the half court. Well, if we do that 5 times a night, it's 1.5 points for the course of the game. If our defense improved 1.5 points per game from 121 to 118.5, we would move to be the 23rd ranked defensive team in the league last year. Just by getting our transition from worst in the league to average. That would be a massive jump. And I think that's what we should be looking for. Are our first and second and third year players suddenly going to become really good defensive players? Probably not. John Collins, suddenly Jordan Clarkson can become really, Colin Sexton can become really good defensive players? Probably not. And I think one of the things we learned from our defensive research, it's scheme is not usually the thing that changes things. But that little change right there of going from allowing 23 fast break points a game, possessions a game to 18, that could move us from 30th to 23rd. That would be what I would call a success and a nice place for the Jazz to be next year defensively. Any concern that Lauri has averaged 56 games per year and we'll be hoping he plays 85 to 90 as he gets into his 30s? That, my friends, is a bona fide great question. So's this one. Ben Anderson talked on the other day, curious on your thoughts, of saying Cody Williams has the most all-star break potential. Can Cody catch or surpass his brothers? We touch those two topics as we continue next on Locked on Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Convenient, flexible online therapy. Visit BetterHelp.com. When I talk about therapy, I like to think about it as performance enhancing. It's something that is going to make you better. There is something in your life that is causing you a struggle or concern or consternation, and you want to deal with it. You have a pattern of behavior that you want to break. And so therapy allows you to dig into why this is happening and then what are the behaviors that you can use to try to fix it. It's pretty great. So if you are looking to start therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, switch therapists for any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by eBay Motors. How is your ride or die these days? Well, patience, drive, and passion is the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance, superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available for U.S. customers. Thank you very much to the everydayers and the first time and the first listens. You make Locked on Jazz what it is. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so very much. Any concern that Lauri has averaged 56 games per year? So, yeah, a little. Great question. First, I think we have to understand that both the last 2 years, we kind of shut him down, right? So I think the question you have to look at really with Lauri in the year he played 66 games a year in 2023 is you look back and like, when did he really miss games? So he missed 3 in the middle of the season. Then he missed 2. Then he missed 1. Then he missed, that's it. Really? Then we started to shut it down. And the one he missed in Oklahoma City there is probably close to a shutdown. So if you look at kind of the first 60 games of that year, Lauri misses 6 games. That's actually about average. Like that's from a guy playing 34 minutes a night. That's not outlandish. And none of them were extended stretches. Okay. So let's look at last year with Lauri. Same concept. We have that extended stretch. He misses from the 15th game of the year to the 25th, comes back. It's a back-to-back, and he only plays one of the 2. So he does, in this time, he misses 8 games in a row. Then he comes back, doesn't want to play a back-to-back yet, so he misses 10. And then we start to shut him down. So we go back to Lauri, and here it is again. He missed 10 of 61. Well, this time he had a very specific injury that cost him 8 games. And he missed 10 of 61 games. It's a little higher rate than you would regularly have. As I just said, the average would be 6, but it's not as brutal as when you look at it and say, I mean, you look at Lauri's numbers, there's no question. His games played are 52, 50, 51, 61, 66, and 55. There's no question you look at that and go, oh. In the 21-22 season in Cleveland, he has a stretch where he misses 9 games early in the season. Then he plays, and then he misses, I think it was 11 games in the middle of the season, and then he misses. So he had 2 significant injuries that cost him multiple weeks at a time. And that's, so what I would look at here, those are the, is that train? I don't know enough to say, like, what is the cause. But if you look over the last 3 years, he's had 3 stretches in which he's lost significant time. And then otherwise, it's been kind of little tiny game here, game there, things of that nature that I don't fret about. But I think it's a legitimate question as he gets older and figures it out. Ben Anderson of KSL Sports Zone, KSL Sports, talked the other day. He did a mailbag, and one of the questions was, can Cody Williams be as good as his brother? So of all of our young players, if you said to me, one of them is going to be an all-star, who's your guess? I think my guess is Cody Williams. Easier to go Keyonte just because we've seen him burst for 40 and things like that. But I think at this point, I would say Cody Williams. My feeling on Cody Williams is I've used the Michelangelo analogy. Michelangelo says, like, David was inside, I just had to move the granite. There is a lot of granite that has to be removed from Cody Williams. But if it is, I think he has the chance to be an NBA Michelangelo's David. Like, his body is perfect. His skill set is awesome. And he's got the capability to really go if it's inside of him. So he is the one of the group that I would say I think at this point has the most chance to be an all-star. Now, we also saw him float into the background at Colorado and then float a little bit into the background in Summer League. So that's going to be a big question. Like, can he assert himself on the game? Could he be as good as his brother? I think his brother's great. Oklahoma City's Jalen Williams. Like, great. Like, if I have 2 players who I think are going to be thought of considerably differently this year than they were at the end of this year, they're Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, unfortunately, but that's what I think. I think Jalen Williams could be all NBA. So all NBA is like a totally different level than all-star, and all-star's hard. I don't know if I think Cody Williams can be an all-star because all-star's hard. Darren Williams wasn't an all-star for a lot of years. But the potential is there. So yes. What's your best guess on minutes distribution for the main rotation guys? So, I think our centers are Walker and John. Taylor Hendricks, with Lauri Markkanen as your backup power forward, I think some of the time. Lauri Markkanen with Cody Williams as your backup wing. Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Keyonte George with a little Isaiah Collier. Am I missing anyone? Bryce Sensabaugh, maybe? That's what I think the main rotation guys are. I think I think Jordan, Colin are playing in the high 20s. Keontae's probably playing in the 30s. Lowry's playing in the 30s. John Collins and Walker are probably playing in the high 20s, but I don't know how you get both of them there. And hopefully, as we talked about, Taylor's playing in the high 20s. So it's really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 man rotation with Cody Williams getting 20 and Isaiah Collier getting 10. I think. Kind of making that up. Try to. Every now and then we do make things up. Will you be instructing all of your NBA Locked On hosts to dedicate an episode on the blasphemy that Shaq called Rudy Gobert the worst player of all time? If you don't, we'll riot. We're back to rioting. He did point out, by the way, that he said the other day riot, and he meant on Twitter, not in real life, which is good because there's a tendency now in America to just riot. I actually thought of all the little internet things that are floating around right now, I thought the more outrageous one was Derek Lively, who is the prototype of Rudy Gobert, and his game is exactly Rudy Gobert's and can only kind of hope to be as good as Rudy Gobert one day, taking a shot at Rudy Gobert and basically saying he shouldn't be on the floor. Then Derek Lively, you shouldn't be on the floor. Unless Derek Lively's hands are going to be so much better than Rudy Gobert's that it makes him a better player. That's the one that was like floating around the internet that blew my mind more than any other, was the Derek Lively shot at Rudy Gobert. You are the same player. You can only hope to be as good as him defensively and as good a pick setter as he is. If you put Rudy Gobert with Luka Doncic, oh dear goodness. All right. Final question of the day. What are your top 5 restaurants in Salt Lake City? Okay, so I'm cheating a little bit here. I love this question because I love food. Every city in America, every NBA city, I got a list of like 10 places. So here are my 5 in Salt Lake. I'll probably forget something. I'm going to give you 4 in Salt Lake. Manoli's, Greek Mediterranean right by Liberty Park. Provisions out in Mill Creek. And by the way, I live in Park City and we eat in Salt Lake. It's too expensive up here. So we come down. Lakai Noodle House, right next to the AutoZone on State Street, is one of my all-time favorites. Ochre, which is just fabulous. Angie and her husband do an amazing job. They've won a bunch of awards. So those 4. This is my secret spot for you. And I don't know why I'm telling you this because it's my favorite place and it's the only place up here that we eat. We eat Oishi Sushi here up in Park City in this place. And that is Cortona. And it's at Kimball Junction right near like Loco Lizard. And it's kind of hidden. And from Salt Lake, it's only like a 20-minute drive up the mountain over top of Parley's, which is scary to people, but it's awesome. It's the best Italian. Matteo's is great too in Salt Lake. Everyone knows about it. But Cortona is great. So that would be my 5 with a shout out to Breakfast at Park Cafe, to take someone to Red Iguana when they come to town because it's a stalwart. To if you're looking for a fancy anniversary table X, and if you just need a sandwich for lunch, oh my, is the best. So that's my Salt Lake eating, and I've probably forgotten someone along the way. Manoli's, Provisions, Lakai Noodle House, and Ochre are my starting 4. And my special rotation is if it's breakfast, it's Park Cafe. If it's bringing someone to town for something unique, or you're catering at home for a party, it's Red Iguana. If it's an anniversary, it's Table X. And if it's just a sandwich, it's Oh My Banh Mi's are the best. And if you're looking to sneak up, instead of going all the way into Park City, just go to Kimball Junction, go to Cortona. But don't tell anyone about that one because I don't want you all to ruin it. Because I love Cortona. All right. I'd be interested in your restaurant searches. I'll throw a thing on the YouTube community post and get your thoughts on what your Salt Lake restaurants are as well. All right. It's just a little fun. Have a great one. That is Locked on Jazz. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll be back with you next week. How am I doing next week? I'm going to watch my daughter play college golf again. I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. I'll try to figure that out. I don't know how I'm going to get you an episode until Wednesday, but I'll try. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Oh, by the way, if you're listening on audio, we have a bunch of great shows. The squad shows are all out and available for you on the college thing. So go grab the Big 10 squad show, which was super. Big 12 squad show, also Big 10, SEC, and ACC, super fun. And if you're on video, we're going to send you over to the first ever national 24/7 YouTube sports channel, Locked On Sports Today. Have a great one.